Hello again, welcome back to Everywoman. This month, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer-related deaths in women across the world. Every year, 1.5 million new cases are diagnosed, and according to the World Health Organization, over 500,000 women die. Well, breast cancer is something we've been highlighting here on Everywoman. One of our colleagues, Rebecca Lipkin, has contracted a rare form of the disease, and she's been sharing her experiences with us through her video diaries. Sadly, Rebecca is too ill to be with us today, but as she says, the key to early detection and treatment of breast cancer is awareness. Well, in a moment, we'll be speaking to our guest, Dr. Huriya Kazim, a leading breast cancer specialist here in the Middle East. But first, being diagnosed can produce all kinds of emotions. Here are the thoughts of one breast cancer sufferer in Malaysia.
My name is Susanna George, and I discovered I had breast cancer in 2004. For me, the journey is ongoing. My current feeling as to what I've learnt is that it's very important to be able to live life without fear. You know, we're very afraid to die, even though we know we are going to die at some point in our lives. And actually, it's a very short little period that we spend on Earth, you know, whether it's 20 years or 30 years or 10 years. We're talking about a very short span of time. And so unless we come to terms with the eventual reality that we will have to face, I think we don't live life quite as well. So my goal right now is to sort of be able to face any eventuality, you know, that to live or to die are both equally significant, you know, so that if I die, it will be a significant event, and if I live, it will be a significant event, both. Yeah.
That's good to hear such positive words there. Well, Dr. Huriya Kazim is the first female surgeon in the United Arab Emirates and founder of the first Well Woman Clinic, which helps women suffering with breast cancer. Huriya, thank you very much for joining us. Now, tell me, there are a lot of misconceptions about breast cancer. Everything from caffeine to underwired bras have been blamed. What are the main myths surrounding how you get breast cancer?
Yeah, I think I've heard and seen the emails on the underwire bra, and antiperspirants is another big one that people ask me about. And I honestly don't think, I mean, people have actually tried to address those issues scientifically, and I don't think there's any reason to think that they cause breast cancer. I think it's going to be a very complicated issue. There are certain things we know about breast cancer. We know things like there's a geographical variation. We know some countries have more than others. We know when people move from a country where there's very little breast cancer to a country where there's a lot, their incidence rate increases to the country that they've immigrated to. We know that probably means something to do with environmental factors or lifestyle factors. Genetics plays a very small part. That's another thing that people always say to me.
That's interesting, because a lot of people assume that if your mother or grandmother had breast cancer, that you were also at a higher risk of getting it.
You are at a higher risk, but it's not the cause of most of the breast cancers we see. So 95% of breast cancers actually occur in women who have no family history of breast cancer.
What about things like diet? If you eat a lot of high-fat food, is that going to increase your risk?
Well, they think that's what it is. I mean, because from those immigration studies that I was telling you about, plus the fact that we know that if you look at one country as it develops, the more developed a country becomes, the more breast cancer you see. And usually when a country becomes more developed, it's because they have a lot more money to spend on good food, which means usually high-fat content. But it could mean other things too. I mean, when you move to a developed country, or when your country develops more, perhaps you do things like delay childbirth. Perhaps you don't breastfeed whereas you would have if you were living in a small town or
and
a
all
village.
those are factors.
Yeah. Well, yes, we think that those are some of the protective things. Having children young, breastfeeding your children, not taking HRT. But, you know, one of the things that's quite disturbing in the Gulf region is that we do all those things. We still have our children young. We have lots of children. In Islam, we feed each child for 2 years. We're not really big on taking hormones. We don't take a lot of HRT. And yet we still get quite a lot of breast cancer, and we get it about 10 years younger than the countries that have a lot of breast cancer.
Is there enough awareness about that here in the Middle East? Because one might imagine that there is a reluctance in very conservative societies to talk about breast cancer, or even to have your breasts examined on a regular basis.
I think so. I mean, I think from my own experience, it certainly has improved in Dubai. I mean, I had another surgeon say to me one day, he said, you know, it's great since you came back to Dubai. And I said, why? He said, I don't see advanced breast cancers anymore. Meaning, so obviously the message is getting out there that people, when they feel something, they're coming forward. But in terms of awareness, I'm a little bit kind of anti the sort of October awareness. I really believe in educating women and empowering women. And as the lady in the clip was saying, one of the things that they fear, and that we all fear when we hear the words breast cancer, is dying, because for some reason in our head we equate breast cancer with dying. And the reason, the reason is, in this part of the world, because people have presented so late, then yes, most likely they succumb to their disease, whereas we know that if cancer is picked up early, you're more than likely to actually survive.
You mentioned dying there. I was going to add mutilation as well, because a lot of women assume that when you have breast cancer, it will automatically lead to mastectomies.
Well, that's another
not
myth.
The case,
that's another myth, yes. And now it still does happen. There are very specific cases where we still would remove a breast, and obviously if a tumor is very small, you don't have to. But now what we offer women is an immediate reconstruction. So in the last week we've done 2 mastectomies with an immediate reconstruction. You wake up with a breast. It may not have been the same breast you went to sleep with when you had your anesthetic, but you still wake up with a matching breast.
And that obviously leads to much more positive feelings in the aftermath.
Yes, but I think that the cancer is the one, from a psychological point of view, and people have actually looked at that, it's being diagnosed with cancer more than the mutilation that actually affects people. It's still that word.
How do the men react? How do families react?
I think men have a hard time. I think most men, husbands, from my own experience, I think they like to fix things in a family. They like to make things well. If the bulb is blown, they change it. If the plumbing's wrong, they fix it. And then they are faced with something in a loved one in which they can't do anything about. And that's how they think. Of course, from the women's point of view, all she is asking really is for a kiss and a cuddle from her husband, and just, you know, some sort of physical support and love, rather than thinking that he should fix this.
Tell me about your tumour registry, because you want to set a tumour registry up in the Middle East. How is that going to help?
Well, this is one of the things, you know, which I'd like to say in terms of, you know, there are a lot of companies or marketing people out there who want to get involved with all the awareness. And, you know, if you really want to do something that's useful, don't send, you know, pink ribbons here and there or a pink bus here and there. What you need to do is focus on spending that money on something that's going to help us. So number one, we need to know who's getting breast cancer in the region, at what age. Then from that, we will know whom to direct these awareness programs to. So for example, in America, where women getting breast cancer, 80% of them are over the age of 50. So it's a postmenopausal disease. And I was saying in this region, it's 10 years younger. So in America, they start doing mammograms for breast cancer at the age of 40, because 50 is the age and up is when you would expect to pick it up. So the question is, if we are getting it 10 years younger, when are we going to start?
You need to start the screening.
Exactly. So we need those numbers. We need to know who gets it, what age, and how we're going to screen, because mammograms don't pick up cancers in young women.
What about support networks? Do women who've been diagnosed with breast cancer, do they have enough emotional and cosmetic support?
I don't think there's enough. I think there's a great need for it, and women, from what I see, really benefit from going to support groups and meeting other people who've had similar experiences they've had. I think, especially with my patients from the region, they for some reason feel alone, as if they've sort of been singled out having this disease. And I think joining a support group, they realize, well, actually they're not alone. And it's also a good sort of forum for learning more about your disease and you know, moving on, if you like. I encourage patients who are newly diagnosed to actually seek out a support group in their region, because it's really great for them to see someone 20 years down the road and they're fine living their life, their hair's grown and they're okay.
Indeed, Huria, it's been a really fascinating and important discussion. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Dr. Huria Kazim there. Well, let's end the programme on a positive note, because we have to stress that breast cancer is a disease that many women survive thanks to early detection and new treatments. Here's one woman who's won her battle and now helps others in Kuala Lumpur.
I've lived in Malaysia for a long time and worked for a cancer organisation after I had breast cancer. I just felt there was a need for care for women with breast cancer. Now, some of their needs get forgotten. They go to the hospital, they get all the surgical and clinical help they need, someone removes their breast, and then they walk away and wonder, where do I go for more help? Who's going to provide me with the hats, the wigs, the scarves that I need? What about the breast prosthesis? So we felt the necessity to set up a store to provide those services for women. This is Betty, mine is her prosthesis, you can see. So I'm going to change this for another one. So I'm going to use this. Pop this in the pocket, pop this up. As you can see, it's a little big for her on that side. This is smaller, this is her real breast. So we need to change it back to the smaller one. Take that out, put this back in. Yeah, as you can see, much better fit. So she looks very good.
Really clever. I think that's a great idea. And that's it for this week. Now, you can find out more information on breast cancer awareness on our website. Go to www.aljazeera.net/English, click on programmes and then on Everywoman. Until next time, bye-bye.